Hi, I'm Daniel and this is Ashville. It's been 4 weeks since my break and today I'm reflecting on the 10 things I realised whilst on holiday. Being the director or owner of a company can be a lonely place. It's a relentless grind and can begin to feel like Groundhog Day. Now, when you're working your way through your to-do list and you're trying to reach your targets, even though at the time it may feel like the wrong thing to do, it's important to take a step back. Whether you micro or macro manage, it's easy to lose your way when you're playing the game. Remember, you can't see the wood for the trees. I recently went on holiday for a week to get some much needed perspective on my life and business. On the flight on the way back, I made some notes ready for the bounce back. I'll take it from here. I have your list. Lay down. Now, you said the world is bigger than West Drayton. Tell me a little bit about that. Being here every day, you know, trying to perfect what we do, trying to do it that bit better, trying to be more efficient. I don't actually think I know what's going on in the rest of the world. I barely spend time to sit down and even watch the news. And I'm often very focused on what I think my competition are doing and how we can do it better and what we can do. I actually think I completely live in a bubble. Now, I am thankful for what's happened and I've grown a business, which is great, but what do I actually really want to do in life? And there are so many places I haven't been. If I look back on this in years to come, what am I going to think to myself? I was there every single day and I perfected it. Will it be important when I look back on it later in life? So what do you mean by the mind can't switch off? You can go on holiday, but when you're on holiday, that doesn't mean that you're not going to think about work. Even when I sat on the beach, I was thinking to myself, right, what is the worst case scenario, some of the things that are happening? And then, like Doctor Strange in Avengers, I went through every single possible outcome and then I mapped out each of the worst ones. And then I began to think to myself, how am I going to cope with those things if they happen? And if they do happen, what am I going to do afterwards? And I kind of spiraled and spiraled and spiraled. And then it was as if I was training myself for the worst to happen. So when it did happen, I would be able to cope with it. And I continually do that time and time again. I'm not sure if it's a good or bad thing, but my brain is still trying to solve problems and come up with new ideas. You love wildlife. Tell me a little bit more about that. I've always been a person fascinated by wildlife documentaries. And I always watched them, but years and years and years of going to work every day, I think it got pushed down somewhere inside of me. So is that a good or a bad thing? As corny as it sounds, when I was away, I actually felt connected with nature. Yeah, I said it. I felt connected with nature. When I was young, I was that boy. When I used to go to St. Lucia with my mum, I would feed the stray dogs. And then when my mum would take me to the beach, there would just be a trail of stray dogs following me like the Pied Piper because they thought that I was going to feed them. You know, I'm not saying that I want David Attenborough's job, but I'd say I'd really, really like to document wildlife. And I'm not talking about voiceover. I'm talking about being in the animal's natural setting with them. Kind of like what I do in the yard, but with wildlife. And you know, where I was when I was swimming with the animals, I saw a plastic bag in the sea. This is something that a turtle may try to eat, thinking it's a jellyfish. And I thought about it and I thought, oh my God, this is terrible. But thankfully where I was, it was a place where you can't hunt endangered animals and the animals can, you know, they can live and they can breed and and their numbers can increase. So you genuinely care about the planet? I genuinely do. I mean, a lot of time I go into meetings and I'm very well versed on recycling and reducing carbon footprints and Euro 6 lorries and all of that, but why am I really saying that and doing that? Am I doing it because recycled aggregates are cheaper? Am I doing it because if I can sell something as opposed to paying to get rid of it, the company saves money? Am I doing it to get into bigger jobs because we can put it on our CV and I can put a sticker on the side of the lorry? You know, it's easy to lose sight of why you're doing things. And you know, being away and looking at the sea, I thought to myself, how sad would it be if my unborn child or even my godchildren, if they wouldn't be able to see this and they wouldn't be able to come and experience it. Okay,
And?
I'm one person. Me recycling a pizza box on a Saturday night isn't going to change things, but am I missing a trick? Am I missing something here to help with recycling and help saving our planet? Am I not seeing it? So I began to think maybe it will come to me and maybe I can try to have a much bigger impact.
You may have lived half your life already, but what brought this on?
If I'm fortunate enough to live a long and natural life, if I have a look at average ages that people are living to at the moment, and I take into account my lifestyle and the high stress, I actually have to consider that half my life may have already passed. And then again, it brings me back onto the things I haven't done yet, and am I running out of time? I mean, I don't have any kids.
No, very interesting. And do you have a girlfriend?
I mean, do I see my mum and my auntie enough? And how much longer will they be with me? And it brings me back to one of the biggest mistakes I ever made in my life. When my grandmother was unwell, I kept saying I was going to go to St. Lucia. I'm going to go down and see her. I'm going to go down and see her. For whatever reason, the trip kept getting put back. And then my grandmother ended up passing away. And I remember everybody said, your mum's in bits, you need to go and support her. And I went to St. Lucia, tried to play the big man to support my mum. And then when I went into the funeral home and I saw my grandmother in the coffin, I absolutely fell to pieces. Like, I was a complete mess. I was no help to anyone. Deep down, I was like, I'm never gonna see my grandmother again. That's when it really hit me. What was I really doing that was that important that I didn't drop what I was doing and go and see my grandmother before she passed?
Who am I? That is a question that we all ask each other at one point or another. So who are you?
I've realized that I'm not actually being myself when I walk around on a day-to-day basis. When I was away, after a few days, I began to become even more childish because I have a very infantile sense of humor. I began to start pulling pranks on people, and I began to walk around smiling for no reason the entire time. And I began to walk slower, I began to breathe deeper, and I felt completely different, and I behaved in a different way. It's like I've conditioned myself for life on a daily basis in the middle of a rat race, working 18 hours a day, 7 days a week. But when I actually had time to myself, I began to go online looking at like train sets and looking at old Transformer toys, you know, like Unicron and Galvatron and all these things, like trying to revisit my hobbies and the things that I genuinely enjoyed doing. And I had completely forgot that. I'm not sure if I had suppressed it, or I don't know if that's just one of the things of getting older, but I'm not actually being myself. I don't just want to be known as the guy who had a decent business with some good content.
It is very important to have a conversation with yourself. So what brought this about?
In the evenings where I was, there weren't any street lights, but because the area is so untouched and it's so clean, the moon actually, you know, lit the sea, and with the moon you could see where you were going, which was fantastic. So I just used to sit outside and have a word with myself and ask myself a couple of questions.
So what kind of questions do you ask yourself?
Am I too soft with people sometimes? Do I always make the right decisions? Do I keep making the same mistakes? Am I a responsible person? Am I honorable? Do I do enough for others? Am I selfish? The fact that I'm always concentrating on my business and concentrating on myself, is that selfish? If you told me that I would be where I am today 20 years ago, would I have been happy? Yes. Yes, I would. Am I happy about it now? That's a different question altogether. Am I patient? Do I take the easy way out, or do I do the right thing? Do I work hard?
No.
Am I making the best use of my time? I don't think so. Have I learned a lot to get to this point? Yes, I have learned a lot. I think I do need to make changes, but I'm not entirely sure that I know what those changes are unless I take more time to reflect. If I take more time to reflect, Will I be missing a trick somewhere else?
Very interesting.
Would I be proud of myself if I was my son? I love to see people trying to do things, whether they succeed or not. I love to see people giving it a go and putting that work in and doing it without hurting people along the way.
So what's driving you? And does revenge play any part in this?
Am I somehow trying to use my accomplishments as kind of like revenge to say, well, look what I've done, I don't need you? Or have I grown up? Is there something subconsciously inside me? You know, I grew up with just my mum, my dad wasn't around, there's people in my life who aren't in it anymore. And am I trying to use that success to say, look what I've done? And is that the fire that keeps me burning so I can say, look, I didn't need you, I don't need you?
But how does that make you feel?
I think I realized a while ago, even before this holiday, that it's better that if I want to sleep at night, I just accept that I need to find peace, not revenge.
So tell me, what has starting a business done to you?
Starting a business doesn't have to define who you are. I mean, I am definitely a different person than I was when I started this business, because ultimately you could say that we are products of our environment.
Yes.
And the challenges we go through in life make us adapt and evolve, and this will continue to happen throughout our lives. But I don't think that owning a business will define who I am. Maybe there's some more twists and turns in my life. Maybe I could still be a Hollywood action hero, or maybe I can be the new David Attenborough, or perhaps a large-scale property developer. So while I've been on this journey thus far, I still think I need to try to not let it change me that much, my core as a person, and still understand that it doesn't define who I am, and there's still possibilities, and there are good people in the world. There could pretty much be better times, and with or without a business, I should know that I could have happiness. And I need more holidays.
Actually, I quite agree. I could do with a few more holidays myself.
Because if I didn't go on holiday, I would have never had the time to think up all of this, and I would have never had a chance to gain a perspective on my life, on my business.
So tell me, what do you think that you're missing out on?
I keep on hearing that life is for living, and I do not disagree. It's just that everyone has a different idea of what living is. I enjoy working on my business a lot of the time. It gives me a sense of achievement that helps me get through. And to be honest, I feel a lot of pride when I pay my team, when we buy a new lorry, when we buy a new machine. But then again, go back to the point. Life is for living. I guess I just have to have a real think about. The train's backing in and there's a problem with the LA60. Okay, all right. What's going on in here then? Anyway, that's enough of that. I've got 1,400 ton of ballast coming on the train. I need to suit up and get it offloaded. Thank you for watching. Click here for the Ashville website. Click here to subscribe to our channel. Click here to see the episode of Ashville Weekly when Daniel went on holiday, and click here to see a day in his life.